Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the Business Plugs Mixer. Hi, my name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the Business Plug, and you have just plugged into a great Sunday afternoon interview. So, before I get to my guest, who I'm so glad she said yes, I want to tell you about a couple of things that I'm working on and so that my team gets happy, right? So the first thing I'm working on is if you are a minority, a female, veteran, disabled business owner looking to get certified, go ahead and click the link that's in the description wherever you're watching this. And let's hook up and talk about how to get you to that money you've been leaving on the table. My goal is to get you certified. So go ahead and make an appointment and let's talk about how I can take you from where you are to where you want to go. Secondly, from that, if you would like to have a conversation on how your business can attend a grant writing session, right? On November the 14th, I am partnering with Urida Sees More up in Chicago, and we're going to host a grant writing class where you actually apply for the grant in the class. Like this is a workshop. I say class, but it's a workshop. And so you're invited to come join us and bring your laptop because we're going to actually get some things done that day. Those tickets are for sale on Eventbrite. It's the end of the year grant funding. And you'll see Eurydice and my picture there. And we are coming to bring you grant information so you can get this end of the year grant money in order to help your business get through this winter season and then get into the new year. So those two things I'm working on. And if you can join me, I would really love you to. And now I get to introduce you to Jen. So pink hair Jen is how I advertised her. So, hey, Jen.
Hello, everybody.
So, yeah, Jen, so tell my audience about you.
Yeah, so here's the fun thing is that I was telling Linda I have several brands that I work under, but right now I've been talking a lot about my Weirdo Weddings Photography. And as a photographer for about 17 years now, I've gone through several transitions as a business. And she was asking me the backstory about Weirdo Weddings. And I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to just say, here I am in the wedding industry. I'm out here for the weirdos and the creatives getting married. And then also I'm under Pink Hair Jen, which is my speaking brand, which is another reason I'm on Linda's space here is that I'm practicing using my voice as not only Pink Hair Jen, but as in Weirdo Weddings and letting people know that I'm out here. So yeah, this is a little bit about what I do. I'm a photographer and an artist and a speaker.
So what part of the world are you in, Jen?
So I'm currently in the state of Texas. I'm right smack in the middle, it feels like.
I heard you. I heard you. I love Texas. Texas is huge.
Oh,
To
it's so
drive
big.
across, I've had the pleasure of driving to Houston a couple of times. And yeah, Texas is huge. They were like, oh, you're not even halfway across.
Yeah, I mean, we can go 6 hours in one direction and still be there. We're
Yeah.
still in Texas, and we go 6 or 7 hours south. We're still in Texas, and
Yeah.
you know.
I've experienced that. I was like, woo, boy, I tell you, it's like driving from Tennessee. So I'm in Tennessee. Driving from Tennessee up to my family in Ohio is like Kentucky lasts forever.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So yeah, so thank you for joining us. And so talk about Weirdo Weddings. We want to know what exactly is Weirdo Weddings?
Yeah, so this kind of came out of a place. I was telling you briefly in our little moments ago that the start of Weirdo Weddings came out of my arts community. And it was something that we always identified with that word weirdo, like weirdo in the good way, not necessarily the less than stellar way, right?
Yeah.
The good way meaning like a lot of us consider ourselves weirdos, not on the external side, but usually on the internal side. Like we think differently, we create ideas differently, we tend to look at the world uniquely. And I know that all of us do, but not all of us call ourselves weirdos. We just kind of we think we're different, but we just didn't have a word for it. And so in my arts community, we started calling ourselves that. And you know what? We started to embrace it. And I thought to myself, you know, COVID hits, the pandemic hits in 2020. I start reassessing my life, and especially in my wedding photography business. I was like, you know what? Nobody's using that terminology in the wedding industry. And I thought to myself, after many conversations and many soul seeking kind of avenues, I was like, I need to start something for the weirdos in the wedding industry, meaning those couples getting married that are like me. They think differently. They look at the world differently. They think they're weirdos, but in all honesty, a lot of us are just normal weirdos out there looking for other weirdos to connect.
I love it. I love it. And I call myself non-standard. So so
Yeah,
I
so
am
there's
not
so many words that we could
so many.
use,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
we're so different, and I know that
Absolutely.
we're all different anyway, but this particular word, I felt like it was something I could stand behind because I already feel like a weirdo in the arts industry. And
Mm,
the photography industry in general is a vast place. And then in the photography in the wedding world, it's like it's another big place that I feel like I almost call it a hyper niche because I am very hyper niched in my business now. But I have to tell you, like this kind of terminology and why I started Weirdo Weddings is because I knew it would draw the people that would understand me and I would understand them. I
mhm,
don't have
yeah.
to nerd out about everything that they nerd out about, but knowing that they have support in their nerddom or their fandom,
Yeah.
that really excites them to know that they have somebody they can trust with their photography
Absolutely. A
and the
safe space to get
services.
seen
A
and heard.
safe space. Yeah, and I think a lot of us are just looking for that. We're looking for safe spaces where we can be who we are.
Yeah.
And that's just, I'm another one of those voices where you can be who you are with me and around me. And if you are super awkward, you're totally my people because when I tell people that I don't really direct in my photography, they don't necessarily believe me. I mean, I will to a point, but I also feel like just letting people be awkward is also very beautiful.
Absolutely. And it's their uniqueness, right? So I can
Yeah.
embrace that because I've been different. I've been set apart pretty much all of my life, right? And so it took me a while of embracing that because when you're the odd man out, you don't get selected. You don't get chosen.
Yeah.
You're kind of ostracized. And so understanding what that was and understanding that's my uniqueness within itself, like and being around other people who understand that too has to be amazing.
Yeah, it really has helped me, first of all, to be in my arts community, knowing that I wasn't alone. And then going into this other industry, right, where I'm learning that my coworkers are basically all of the whole world. Like, I don't have a standard job, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody who's got the office jobs and they get to see their coworkers every single day. And then I have to see my coworkers at a luncheon once a month. I mean, it's like
I know it. I know it.
and it's like I don't always work with all of them either. It's like my weddings are a certain way that I may not work with every single vendor in my industry here in even just my city. And
Yeah.
then you have, states and the country. And then beyond that, it's like, it's a big, vast world of my coworkers, you could say.
I
And then,
love it. I love
and
it.
then
I
in
love
between
it.
all of that, I'm meeting these amazing couples that the one this past week was one I'd met. I had done a panel just talking about weddings in general and wedding planning because even though I'm a photographer, I did a lot of stuff for my own wedding and I liked talking about sometimes the pitfalls of wedding planning and trying to do it yourself and all this other stuff. And so this lady saw me on the panel talking with we were a group of us and I was hosting it. And she was really intrigued by that. And she came to see me at my table. And here we are 2 years later. They just got married yesterday. So
Aw,
because I spoke up about the awkwardness and the weirdness and just being nerdy about things, and she was very drawn to that and hired me, 2 years ago.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's finding your people, like finding, and that's the thing about entrepreneurship at all, right?
Yeah.
Because we're planting seeds all the time, and we never know when those seeds will ferment. We never know when they'll germinate, and then we'll have a business, a client. Oh, I remember when. Like, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And so, doing the type of work you do, which is niche, right?
Very
Doing
niche.
that type of work, what have you found to be the number one thing that works every single time?
Well, here in the last couple years, I've noticed that the more myself that I am, the quicker I
Mm,
connect with people.
absolutely.
And so it works every time when you are genuine about
Mm,
who you are
yeah,
and who you're speaking to as your potential client. Because as we know, as business owners, not everybody is our client.
absolutely.
But when you're talking with people and you are genuinely having connection, because you are who you are. And I think that's, and I was sharing this recently. That's the hardest work I've ever done, is to uncover who exactly I am.
Yeah.
So I can be who I am in my business.
Because
And
we
it's
tried
not
to fit the
hardest
mold.
work. It's like, yeah, you can go do the marketing, you can say all the right things, you can use all the technology and tools, but if it's not who you are, you're kind of like, you're only just doing surface work. I
Yeah.
kind of want to go to the deep work where I am who I am, and I can be who I am, and then attract that in other people, and then we can all be who we are together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that authenticity that comes from being truly who you are and attracting the people who are meant to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no walls, pull up barriers, whatever. They understand that they can come however they are and that you'll meet them exactly where they are.
Yeah, and even if they do have a fortress built, you'd be surprised how many people will take a couple of walls down when they're around somebody who truly cares, right?
Exactly.
We already know
Exactly.
that I already know this. I'm more than a photographer. I'm an encourager. I love on people. Every chance I get, I'm trying to, use my creativity. It's a gift that I have, and whether or not it opens up another door to something else is what I'm here for. I'm like, if I'm not using all of my creative gifts, then what am I doing? Burning my time at a 9 to 5 job. Well, I'm so glad I left that, way back in the day, because I was just burning time there, right?
And
Now
I
I
get it. Yeah,
now I
exchanging
feel like
time for
I'm
dollars.
in the places that I need to be as far as using my voice and my creative
Mm,
talents, which I know I've only scratched the surface, honestly.
yeah,
There's so much more out there for me, and I think I'm in this place of embracing everything that's happening right now. Like,
I love it.
whatever speaking event that I put myself out for, or whatever wedding I sit down with a couple and I talk to them, and like, if we all fit together, and I go out and I work their wedding, and we have these great images and memories to live through together. Because I told them, nobody's probably going to believe me, or maybe all the photographers can understand me, when we go through the wedding images, I'm reliving every memory with them, because I know
Yeah.
I was there, and I'm smiling when they're smiling, and anybody who was crying, I might just be like, I have that moment of just share that emotion with them. And it's just, that's my job, is to go out there and have celebrations with people that are super happy and joyful, and sometimes stressed out. And oh my gosh, we this last wedding, she was trying to put her contacts in her eyes, and it was really a challenge for her. And
Yeah.
she had two people trying to help her, and then she used this little tool to do it. And I was just like, wow, this is my first time to experience that at a wedding. That is something
Mm.
else.
And so what kind of training or what kind of things did you have to go through to get to here? Like what educational wise, how did you prepare for this right here? Or did it just fall? Is it natural talent? Or is it a combination of love and talent? Or what is it?
Okay, so in the beginning of my career, okay, the photography aspect, I definitely did the training for the technology, because
Mm,
that is one thing. And maybe some other entrepreneurs understand that sometimes technology could be something that holds you back from going forward. So
mm-hmm,
for me, in order to get all the things out of me creatively, I needed to learn some of the technology.
mm-hmm,
And really, that was learning a camera in general,
mm-hmm,
learning exposure, learning all these things. So I took as many classes as I could find in that short period of time, as well as I committed to a year of a business class, believe it or not.
yeah.
Like, something that helped me figure out where I wanted to go in business. I didn't really have an example.
Mm-hmm,
Now, every day, every time I meet somebody, there's another entrepreneur. Like, back then, 19 years ago, I didn't really have a lot of examples to look at. I didn't even know I could do photography as a business.
I
But as
understand
soon
that.
as I started walking into all these classes, and I'm seeing teachers and people that have been doing this for years already, it kind of got my juices flowing as to what I could do. And now, mind you, like I told you, all the technology has changed even in the last 17 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can
We
imagine.
have
Oh,
the
yeah,
digital
definitely.
technologies that have changed, and now we have even more changing on the post-production side. It's one of those things where you have to take some classes in order to get to where you're going, but I like the fact that getting out there on the ground and doing the work that way is my best teacher.
I love it. I love
Like,
it.
sometimes you just have to go out and do the work and stop sitting in the classroom.
Absolutely. Because all the lessons are not taught in the classroom.
100%. I was gonna mic drop for a second, because that's how I am, and that's how I love life now. It's like, that's why I travel. That's why I do things that are not seemingly normal to the point where, yeah, I could take a class, but is that something that would really get me the knowledge I need, or do I need the experience knowledge?
Mm.
You know, there's the book knowledge, the experiential knowledge. I tend to lean towards experiential. Sometimes I'm not in the book unless I have to be.
Absolutely, because it's just not the technical things, it's the practical things too.
Yeah,
And
because
so,
I find that also depending on what industry you're in, sometimes you're unwinding the things you've learned to go off on your own path. And especially
absolutely.
in the creative industry, you can learn all of the techniques in the world. But if you've decided that you want to go a certain way and you want to explore something, sometimes you have to drop off everything you learned and then kind of make your own way with the knowledge you already have.
Absolutely. Build that
I find is
parachute.
what I'm doing here, and you asked me how I got here. I feel like I'm on this adventure, very
Mm.
much like Indiana Jones in the third movie where he was leaping from the lion's head. There wasn't a seeming path in front of him until he leapt
Yeah, yeah.
from the lion's head. And I feel like that's kind of where I've been on this journey
I love it.
is I'm leaping into the unknown, and sometimes the unknown actually, know what? Every time the unknown is scary, not even going to say sometimes. It is very scary. And until like you take that leap and you start to see the picture unfold, you're like, "Oh, I understand now. All of this is making sense. All the dots are connecting."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
everything that I've ever experienced in my lifetime has left me here in this space here. And so when I have the photography side and now the speaking side, I've been doing that for 2 to 3 years, and a lot of that has been by observing other people.
Mm.
I've barely taken any classes, but I observe a lot. Like watching movies, you take mental notes of filmographies, you take the cinematography, and just how I was talking to you before this, like I was making notes about a movie that I watched recently about homages to old film techniques and visual tones and things like that. All of this is a lovely visual aspect of where we can go in businesses in general anyway, is that, you know, using the gifts that you have. And if it's a voice, then you use your voice. If it's your arts, you use your arts. I like to say it like this: sometimes people are so stuck in their head about what they want to do. Sometimes a writer just needs to go write.
Absolutely.
Sometimes a photo
The
maker
doing.
needs to go make a photo, and sometimes a painter just needs to go sit down and paint, because it's not about having that perfect picture. It's about the journey on the way.
Absolutely.
And you have to do the work no matter what. So you might as well just do the work.
I love it. I love it. And you create your own individual style. Like learning the education piece. When computers first came out, look, I'm that old, but when computers first came out, I bought one from Finger Hut and I actually played with it and learned all the things. Then I went to school and said, okay, I need to learn what they call all the things I know how to do.
That.
So,
Yeah, I was like, I can take a picture, but I was like, I don't know what you call it. And even to this day, if I have a new photographer come up to me and they're like, so what lens do you use? What camera do you use? And I said, you know, I just basically tell them I try to get the photo how I want it to look. That's really what it is. As
whatever
long
it takes.
is it bright enough? Is it dark enough? Is it right in the middle? That's kind of where I'm at. If it's saying something, I'll think about it later. And sometimes I just do stories after the fact, but I create stuff that impacts me and I capture it.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. If it's in my art world or if it's in my wedding world, I'm capturing things that make sense in that story in that moment.
Absolutely. And so you talked about being a professional speaker.
Yeah.
So what type of topics do you invite people to reach out for you to come
So
to?
this is a really great question. I have quite a few going on right now because I believe in authenticity. And I know right now it's kind of an overused word, but I think a lot of us don't know how to unlock who we are.
Mm,
We're just living in what people tell us we are, or
mm,
what social media tells us we are, all these other voices telling you who you are, when I want to help people unlock who they really are and share who they really are, not
absolutely.
just what gets views, likes, subscribes, right? I have topics on that. I also have topics on part of my journey here in the wedding industry, in the photography world, and it's called Expanding Your Brand, because I feel like a lot of people may be too scared to expand themselves because they like staying in their their perfect little lane. And
Mm.
I'm kind of those people, like I told you, I'm a little bit of adventurous just sometimes, to have that little side road where you like go explore something you haven't done before.
Absolutely.
And as an artist, we are always exploring. And I know I say artist, I don't take it lightly anymore. I've embraced everything who I am as a creative. So a lot of my topics will revolve around accessing who you are, but also expanding who you are. So I
Yeah.
have so many different topics that I'm still building on, but I also have one called awkward networking, because like I told you, if I'm awkward in a lot of things that I'm doing, I'm infusing my life story into these topics on how did I arrive to be who I am now? Well, this is part of it. You know, I embraced a niche I didn't have before. I expanded who I am. I still have pink hair after all these years. My hair is turning white, but there's so many things inside of us that unless something that unlocked for me 3 years ago was when somebody gave me permission to use my voice.
Mm.
This is not always everybody's problem. A lot of people have no problem sharing their voice and who they are. 3 years ago, I didn't know how to access that part of myself.
Mm.
So when somebody said that you have a safe space to share and that you can, you are your best advocate
Yeah.
or you are your best voice. I mean, for some reason, I felt like I needed that permission in that moment. So this has been another adventure
Absolutely.
using my voice to teach, and
Mm-hmm.
to empower, and to hopefully inspire others to take their own actions. I'm not going to give you a recipe. Sometimes I want you to make up your own recipe, and that sounds very daunting, but I've also found that if you take the reins of your adventure and not just go by what everybody else tells you, it's way more fun to access who you are versus everybody telling you who you are. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of where I lean. And I just showed this to my friend recently. She says, we are kind of more like a motivational speaker. I said, I don't know what it is. I
I
don't
think it's more transformational.
I don't like labeling myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very transformational because every time I do something that is so out of my box, I did a spoken word recently at a convention, and I was the opening speaker for the convention. And I also did a live poetry reading with music. And it was the most impactful thing I've ever done in my life. And even if nobody else got anything out of it, it transformed me.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when I'm sitting and speaking and I'm doing things that are completely like not me from 20 years ago, it's because I'm sharing who I am, but I'm also ruffling up my own ground. I, I
Absolutely. And I
the
think it's necessary though,
like
but
the seeds
because
we're talking about,
yeah,
those seeds probably still needed to be ruffled up and move the ground around a little bit and do some watering, all this other cool
absolutely.
stuff that has yet to come out. That every time I step up and do something really scary, I find myself like, oh, okay, I could do that thing now. Or it's another healing part of my journey. Like we all like to gloss over the fact that, oh yeah, we're business owners, but you know what? We're human beings too. And a lot of things that I talk about go deeper than just here's your 5 steps for better marketing. Here is your 2 ways you can, expand your brand. I want to know who you are as a person and why you want to do the things you do. What are you
Mm,
really passionate about? Because that's the
absolutely.
things that take you far.
Absolutely. Those are the things that fill the soul.
Yes, and it
Those are
gives you that
definitely.
sense of purpose that a lot of
Mhm.
us maybe haven't tapped into our sense of purpose.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, when you look at they were talking about eventually we're going to be a one world organization as far as finances and whatever. And when people have to stop working for money, then what will be your purpose? Like, if robotics take over and everything is standardized and
Everything
you're,
is way.
yeah, and you're no
Wow.
longer having to work for money.
Yeah.
Like, okay, then what is your purpose? Like, what happens to you if you don't already know who you are in the world and why you're here? And so I think it's important for us to investigate that, to find out. Sometimes it takes reintroducing ourselves to ourselves.
Oh my gosh, yes, you're speaking my language here. I do this a lot. This is part of the exercises too. I do with some of the folks I meet over, especially this last year and a half. I'll give them homework to reintroduce themselves. And
Yeah.
really, it's an exercise on you talking to you,
Yeah.
even though you're trying to find your clients and they're trying to find you. It's really like tap into something that you have not shared with the world yet.
Absolutely, because it's important to do this work, to do any work that comes with purpose. You have to know who you are first.
Yes.
And then you're still, I've been doing this as a business for 11 years, but I'm still evolving. And so things, what I look like today is definitely not what I looked like 13 years ago, or 10
Absolutely.
years ago, or 5 years
Absolutely.
ago, or before COVID. Like I've
Yeah.
been through some things. And so because of all of that, and because it takes an accumulation of all the things we've been through to get to here, it's important for us to understand, okay, we can't change any of that, but how do we get more authentic in our being going forward? Because that we can control.
Absolutely. We have every opportunity to sit down with ourselves
Yeah.
and assess who we are as a person.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm constantly finding myself finding people that just need to strip away some of the personal things they need to work through. They have traumas they need to work through.
Oh yeah.
They have blurry vision they need to work through,
Mm-hmm.
because you can have vision, but if it's blurry vision, it's still not going to be lining up with who you are as a person.
Exactly.
And there's so many different ways that we can step up and ask those questions to ourselves. And sometimes you have to hire somebody to help you. Ask those questions and find the answers, because sometimes the answers are just a minute away versus the 10 years you wasted potentially sitting around and not doing anything about it.
Absolutely.
And so,
Absolutely.
if anything at all, I can encourage people, just be like, get up, ask the questions, and just get real with yourself at this point. Like we only have a few months left of the year. You might as well do it now.
Fourth quarter could be the beginning. It could be, as opposed to doing it one day. Fourth quarter can be your day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can turn all that around, and then you start the 2025 year being a brand new year.
Yeah, I mean, start 2025 now. I mean,
Yeah.
you have so much opportunity sitting right here just for you.
I love it. I love it. And so, what one takeaway would you like the people reviewing this interview to take away from this?
So, don't be scared of the work. And by the work, I mean, it's going to be an internal working sacrifice of that time and those questions. But whenever you see somebody who's been led to their purpose and their mission and the things they're passionate about, it's because they've done some hard internal work.
Absolutely.
And I was like, as much as I would love to say, run out there and go collect your clients and work the things that you need to work, your internal work will be the most rewarding and powerful work you'll ever do. So whatever that looks like for you, do the work now, thank yourself later, and then keep doing the work, because as you do the work, those things are going to open up to you that you've been either hiding or hiding from.
And then that's good. That's good stuff. And then you're giving the people who are at the crossroads, you're giving them permission to do their work as well.
Absolutely. You have all the permission right now. It's your season to probably step up. I'm guessing you've watered those seeds long enough. And you probably have a little sprout that's just waiting to be, hey, look at me.
Yeah, fertilized and cultivated.
And no matter how weird it looks, go explore it, because it could be the simplest idea might be your answer. And I think if we overcomplicate and get in our head too much about those answers that are presenting themselves, then you're going to miss out on the things that are already there waiting for you. And that's what I can tell you about Weirdo Weddings, is that it was already waiting for me. I just needed to step into it. And some of y'all out there probably have that as well. You've been sitting and sitting and sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting, but it's been waiting for you. You need to step into it. Why?
I love it.
You.
I love it. I love it. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug. I just introduced you to Pink Hair Jen. And catch her on her podcast, Tattoos and Toddlers. Catch her on the Weird Wedding Photography. And then also her third thing, and I did write it down, the pink hair light
Pink light
images.
images.
Pink hair light image. Got it, got it, got it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have a way to connect with her in wherever you're watching this. So reach out to her and tell her you saw her here. I'll see you next Sunday on the Business Flux Mixer at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And until then, I wish you a great week. You all have a great week. And I just plugged you in to Jen. Reach out and touch it. Thanks. Bye bye.